Hey, that's fine. Let's do it. Well, good. Let's go ahead and get started. So, Clay Mayfield, uh, you own an academy in, was it Franklin or Nashville?
It's Franklin, Tennessee, which is about 20 minutes south of downtown Nashville. So yes to both, I suppose.
Do you want to hear something ironic? Is like Russellville, Arkansas, the place where I have my gym. They want to be just like Franklin, and have like spent all this money like sending all of our politicians and architects and engineers to Franklin to be like, how are we going to be more like these people?
Really?
Yeah, like ironically, yeah.
Wow.
But it is nice around there, man. I've been through there, and we've taken a few trips to Nashville, and it's just such a nice area with such great food.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, Franklin is a unique like feel, because I was originally in Kentucky, training in like Kentucky and Southern Illinois, and then when I decided I wanted to move to Nashville and open a gym, I had looked through Nashville for a couple of years, like different neighborhoods, and driven through and trained, and I couldn't find anything I quite wanted, like it didn't feel right. And then I had family, like cousins in Franklin. So one of the trips when I was scouting out Nashville for a location, I just kind of drove down and visited my cousins, and I was like, shit, Franklin's perfect. And it wasn't even really on my radar. And then I kind of researched it and, looked at the demographics and looked at the competition down here and just the city itself. And it was all amazing. And it just has this like small town vibe, but it's a good sized city. And it's just amazing.
If I'm not mistaken, Franklin is named after Benjamin Franklin and was like one of the earliest, so I'm going history nerd here, was one of the earliest Western cities to be founded, like before Tennessee became a state.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's two different cities, one in Kentucky as well.
Okay. I'm actually reading an autobiography of Benjamin Franklin right now. And you're right, it is named after Franklin, and it was founded in 1799, but I didn't know about that it was before Tennessee was a state. I guess that makes sense.
Okay, so check this out. I just read this in a book the other day. Franklin and whatever the other city was in Kentucky, they had kind of formed, but they weren't a part of a state, and they were like, look, if you don't get your stuff together over here, we're going to join the Spanish Empire.
Oh, wow.
And everybody was like, oh, my God, these people are thinking about not joining the United States. This is crazy. Like at the time, like, it was a controversial thing. But anyway.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm glad it didn't go that way.
Yeah. So, man, I saw you mentioning online the other day, and like I kind of feel like I knew this, but you have some German heritage. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah. My family is German, on my mother's side, and probably a little bit on my father's side too. But my great grandparents came over from Germany prior to World War I and got settled in the States. They immigrated, kind of fleeing the political situation over there, and settled in the U.S. for a new life. And then my family just descended down from there. And so I've always had strong ties with like the German culture and the German language and everything growing up, and went over there and lived there for a little bit. And then as an adult, before I opened the gym, when I was traveling everywhere, I'd go over to Germany a couple times a year and train and teach and travel over there and visit family.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. And I want to say I've heard you like in videos or something like you speak fluent German. Is that correct?
I speak German. I'm not fluent yet, but I'm still studying, trying to master the language. It's one of those things like jiu-jitsu, I'd say I'm probably a blue belt at German, but a blue belt compared to someone off the streets is kind of an expert, but compared to the black belt, he doesn't know very much.
Man, linguistics are super fascinating to me, because just like teaching history and like Western Civ and stuff like that, I'm always like referencing like Greek and Latin terms. And then having gone, which I know you have a big judo background as well, but like learning Japanese terms, you see these little linguistic nuances in different parts of the world, and it's just interesting.
Oh, it's fascinating how everything's kind of tied together.
Yeah. So, man, how did you get started in training? Did you start off in judo?
So I started off in jiu-jitsu and judo simultaneously. My family traveled the world growing up. My dad was in medical school, and we did like a traveling residency. So we grew up I was born in Texas. We moved to the Caribbean for a while, in Belize, and then lived in England and Germany for a little bit, and then all over the States. And when I was 15, we settled in Kentucky, in the western part of Kentucky. And one of my dad's patients told him about a martial arts gym about an hour away from where we lived, and it turned out to be a Hoist Gracie jiu-jitsu gym. So at the time, we grew up watching like Jackie Chan movies and Steven Seagal movies, and my parents had done Taekwondo, so we didn't really know a lot about jiu-jitsu, but we went and tried a class and really enjoyed it. And so one thing led to another, and we ended up diving into jiu-jitsu pretty hardcore when I was 15.
How old are you now? How long have you been training?
I'm 27, so I guess on paper I've been training 11 years. I started in August, so August will be 12 years. But the school that I was at was really low caliber jiu-jitsu. Like, it almost, in my book, it almost doesn't count. So I spent 8 years kind of at kind of a shitty school. And then after that, I started exploring other options. And then a couple of years ago, I settled at the Pedigo Submission Fighting gym. So I kind of tell people I spent 8 years learning what not to do, and I spent about 4 years learning good jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, man. Everything I've seen come out of Pedigo is amazing. Omar and I were talking. I did a podcast on Omar French yesterday, and we were talking about George Valadares. Do you get to train with him very much?
Yeah, man, I used to train with those guys every day, and then opening the gym, I get to go up about once a month. So it's not as much as I'd like, but they come down here and train and help teach classes in Franklin too. So we do have a good flow going back and forth. But yeah, I know George really well, and we used to train together every day back in the day before I opened the gym. George is an animal.
He is, man. I had him, and Omar did too. We were kind of remarking about. We both had him teach a seminar at our gym at different times, and I went to the one that he taught at Omar's gym, and that was like just when he was getting started, but he had tapped like over 10 black belts in competition no-gi at a blue belt level at the time, and we were just like, what's this dude into?
Well, there's a couple things, man. First off, George is just a savage. His lasso and his pressure passing are some of the best I've ever felt. And then in the no-gi, his leg locks are just insane. But not to take anything away from George, but just like kind of a testament to his hard work. It really comes down to like there are just levels in jiu-jitsu, and a competitive blue belt. Like you look at Roberto Jimenez, or Andrew Wiltsey, when those guys were like tearing out blue belt, or Gustavo Batista, like the guys that are winning at blue belt would just destroy 90% of like black belts in the world, just because if you're an active competitor like IBJJF and you're winning pans and worlds at even blue belt or purple belt, you're in the top echelon of the world, and belts don't really matter at that point.
For real. Yeah, man. You have been competing like a savage, like the whole time I've known you. We've actually even had it's been a long time, but like the first time AGF came to Memphis, we got to have a couple of matches together. I've watched you compete and do some amazing things in competition. I watched you choke a dude in his own guard one time.
Yeah.
And I've had matches that was Mark Miller, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But he's an incredible player, dude. I've had matches against him and trained with him at his when he was at Memphis Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. And man, an incredible player. And I've just seen you have some awesome matches. How long have you been competing? Like the whole time? I mean, I first met you at the AGF qualifier in Dallas.
Oh, that's right. Did we compete?
Did you win that?
Man, I won one of the qualifiers. I don't think it was Dallas. I think I lost Dallas, and then like a week later, I did the Little Rock one, and I won that one.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy that won, but I remember watching you compete down there. But that was like right when I'd first seen you, and you kind of came in as a favorite. But I remember looking at your purple belt and being like, "What the fuck?" Because it was like super tattered, right? And I'm like, man, this guy must compete a lot.
Well, man, that's kind of the funny story. I remember I said I started at like a shitty gym. They were like, you know, a very much self-defense only. And, you know, if it doesn't work with punches in the face, it's not jiu-jitsu, and just kind of like, you know, sucking the alio dick. And it didn't, I don't know if we're allowed to talk like that on the podcast or not.
No, we totally are. No,
Okay.
Open forum. You're good to say anything.
Gotcha. So yeah, it was just a very much like almost like a Gracie Cult kind of gym. And I mean, they're very chill guys, very, very like good people, but the jiu-jitsu was just terrible. Like I was actually watching our matches today, back from that AGF Memphis, and like, dude, you were all over me. Like technically looking at it, I was like, man, I didn't know what single X was. I didn't know what lasso was. I was a purple belt, but I couldn't even name like these kind of guards and moves, just because I was taught that if it doesn't work in a street fight, it's not jiu-jitsu, and you only need to know these basic, like, you know, 40 self-defense moves, and that's all there is to jiu-jitsu. But dude, it was like delusional low level of jiu-jitsu. And anytime people would come in and like want to evolve the martial art or kind of look at new stuff, it was kind of frowned upon. So I guess I got to be pretty tough, just like rolling with the guys in the gym and stuff. But my technical knowledge was way down there. So my purple belt, you know, everyone kind of talks about how like beat up my belt was and stuff like that. And like I trained and taught all the time, but when I would start competing, I was just getting torn apart by guys that were like from Lovato school, and, you know, guys that just knew the competition game inside and out. And I got to where I could just win some matches because I would get down like 20-0 and like get scored on a bunch, and then I would catch some weird triangle or, you know, like you said, tap someone out from inside their guard. So I got lucky and I figured out a few things. But when I found the Pedigo guys, I was a purple belt, and I went up there and got demolished by like every white belt in the room. I couldn't score a point on a single white belt. And I was like, holy fuck, there are just levels to this game. And then when I went and told my coach, you know, he told me like, oh yeah, but if it was a street fight, you know, you would beat them up because it was, you know, that's not street self-defense. They're just trying to score points. And I'm like, man, but I'm getting tapped out a lot. And so then, you know, I got to be a brown belt, and I didn't really want it because I was like, I'm not very good. I just know these self-defense moves, but I can't really like do good jiu-jitsu. But I got my brown belt, and then finally I was like, man, I just want to compete all the time. And so I didn't do IBJJF until I got my brown belt. I just did like the AGFs and the Fujis and stuff like that. And then the Pedigo guys were letting me cross-train with them for actually about a year. I was doing privates with Andrew Wiltsey and met George Valdares and those guys. And Heath Pedigo would let me come up and train there. And it was about 30 minutes from my other gym. And they would never like ask me for a mat fee or charge me money or anything like that. They just wanted me to come train. And they were so nice to me, man, because like they were beating the fuck out of me, but they never like discouraged me from coming back. They were like, man, you got the potential, just keep coming back. And they were just so encouraging. And then after about a year of that, I just realized I was kind of spinning my wheels at the other gym. And so I just kind of parted ways and joined Pedigo full time. And then after that, it just became, to answer your question, it just became a passion to just win worlds and, you know, wreck all the tournaments. And my goal has always been to be the number one ranked brown belt in the world. And I've still got some climbing to do to get there, but that and to win worlds at brown belt before I get my black belt are kind of my two goals. And that kind of manifested after I joined the Pedigo team. I was like, all right, this can become a reality because there's a room full of savages that can help me get there, you know?
Man, what is it that they are doing differently as a team? Some of the things that you see that set them apart?
A couple big things. One is just relentless drilling. You know, we'll take a move and we'll drill it 10,000 times. Like that's not an exaggeration. Like that's a number. We'll pick X pass or triangle or whatever and just drill it 100, 200, 300 times a day until we've done it, thousands and thousands of times, and that's just muscle memory. And that's one of the biggest things. The other thing is just the intensity of the room. A lot of people expect to kind of like train soft and go a few rounds at the end of class and whatnot, and then they think they're going to be able to go win a tournament. But you've got to train exactly the way you want to perform when you compete. And at Pedigo, there are no easy matches. And even if the guys suck or they're not athletic when they start or whatever, when you come into the room, it's like you fight as hard as you fucking can every second of every round to not get scored on. And when I first came in there, I would like get tackled or whatever, and then I would just kind of fall down and accept it. And then what I noticed is I would maybe shoot a single or double or hip toss or whatever on someone else, and then they would scramble, and then they would take me down. And it was like, okay, they're fighting to not get scored on. And even if you get past the guard, they're re-guarding, and then you have to pass again on the re-guard. And it just builds that mental toughness of like, fuck, these guys are hard to score on, and they never stop trying to beat my ass. So the drilling and just the overall intensity of the training are the two biggest things that I think set Pedigo apart from most other gyms.
Man, I know like this is something like completely unrelated. I did a Murph this morning. Are you familiar with that workout?
Murph?
Yeah.
It's like a Facebook about it, right?
Yeah, dude, I'm dying right now. I'm so sore.
Kudos to you, man. That's a tough workout.
Yeah, but man, I was like, the guy I was doing it with, we were talking about kind of like jiu-jitsu politics and stuff. And like this guy I know had posted about basically like splitting off of his instructor he's been with for like a long time, just over like a very small difference of opinion on like him wanting to kind of like start being an instructor for like his people that would affiliate under him. This dude's like a third or fourth degree black belt also.
Wow.
But there was this big, if you want to do that, kind of go do your own thing, I feel like was a deal. But like kind of the conversation I was having with this guy is like, man, it seems like splits are rarely amicable in jiu-jitsu, and a lot of people either stay in an unpleasant situation or a gym that they're not happy with for fear of not wanting to be like, I don't want to be the guy that switches teams all the time, or just out of like loyalty or just not knowing any better. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons, but like, was that like something hard for you to like leave your gym after 8 years? Was that like an amicable split? Did you have the support of your former coach? Like, how was that?
Man, that's an interesting question. And I've never really publicly talked about this.
And we don't have to. Like, I saw you post about it on Facebook a couple of times recently, and it seems like it's been a positive thing for you, though.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely has. I don't mind talking about it. I intentionally haven't made a big stink about it because I don't believe in doing that kind of thing. But two things. Firstly, I think a lot of people, like you said, Brian, get caught in this trap of like, I don't want to be a traitor or I want to be loyal. Loyalty is the most misunderstood concept in jiu-jitsu, in my opinion. If your school and your coach aren't supporting you and like giving you what you need, then you should leave and find a coach that does. Because you're a paying customer, you're not like entitled to be a part of this cult or whatever. It's a business, and jiu-jitsu gives so much to the people in it that a lot of times that community gets really tight bonded and it feels like a family, which is great, but it doesn't mean you should be tied to something that's not meeting your needs, And so I firmly believe, and I try to set this example with my students too. I have students that are going to feel like they're a better fit at another gym. It's happened before. It's going to happen again. And like, ultimately, I want to be selfless and say, hey, if the Triangle Academy, like our Pedigo gym down here, if Triangle Academy isn't the right fit for you, then I want to help you find the school where you can plug in and be a part of that team, But you don't see that a lot in jiu-jitsu, and my split with my team was not amicable. It was on my end, like both my old coach and I both tried to do things the right way and kind of like, gloss things over and decide, hey, whatever's the best for you, let's do it. But when it came down to it, I probably could have done things a little better and I'm sure I burned some bridges where I could have been a little more delicate. But when I ultimately decided to go to Pedigo, because I was on the cusp of opening the gym down here. Like, I already found the building. I almost named this like after my other gym, my old gym. So it was like right in the turmoil of all this transition, opening the gym. I decided, if I'm going to make a change, I need to do it now. And then it kind of made sense. Like, hey, these Pedigo guys are my real team. The other gym didn't support me. They didn't like me competing. I mean, Hoist Gracie told me to my face that competing was bullshit and I was setting a bad example for his students. And so I just really felt like I needed to switch to Pedigo. And when I did it, they told me not to even come back to the other school to say goodbye to my students. Like, I'd taught there for years. I taught some of these students since they were like 4 or 5 years old. And they told me I couldn't even come back to say goodbye. So I don't have any hard feelings, but it could have been done better, probably on my end as well as their end. But, it is what it is. It kind of shows me that I guess we didn't really have each other's backs after all, and makes me more grateful for the culture and team that I have at the Pedigo team.
Yeah, man. I mean, ultimately, like, you have to do what is best for you, because, man, staying in situations where you're unhappy it can literally lead to depression. Like,
Absolutely.
That's not even an exaggeration. Like, when people you're close to, if it becomes apparent that they're not keeping up, that they don't have your best interest at heart, that can be, you stay in that situation. That can be, and your needs aren't being fulfilled. That can be a very negative scenario.
Oh yeah. What's your story there? Have you always been under the same team, or did you switch schools?
No, I mean, I've always been with the same team. But man, have just over the years have observed the politics and closed-mindedness. And I mean, I've seen like Arkansas Jiu-Jitsu grow from being, having only 5 black belts when I started. And like, I like the guy that was my coach, Caleb Plank at the time, who owned Inferno. He ended up moving to Northwest Arkansas, but we still stayed connected and affiliated. But he was like the only blue belt that I knew. Right?
Wow.
Like, yeah. But I've been with them for, the whole time, almost 14 years. So, but, and things like have really evolved and morphed and changed over time. And as that has happened, mindsets have changed.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm very much so not someone who likes to prescribe to dogma or just follow along. I'm always wanting to evolve what I'm doing, whether it's in martial arts or business or teaching or history or whatever, podcasting, whatever I'm doing. And it's, I've been fortunate to have the support. It doesn't mean there haven't been like times where there's friction, but I've definitely, there's definitely been times where it's like, hey, here's the direction I'm headed with this,
Yeah.
And it might be some initial friction in the beginning, like I'm saying, but ultimately the support has always been there with our association, which we've really only been a association, quote unquote, I've had the same rank through Danny Drain. He's like Arkansas's first black belt, but through him for the whole time I've done jiu-jitsu, I got every belt from him: blue, purple, brown, black.
Wow,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah, I mean, and like the guy, he married Cora and I, so,
Oh wow.
yeah. And I mean, like almost everybody in the wedding was like a martial arts school owner or a coach of some kind, so, but that's like, man, but I've seen people split and come and go with what we're doing. Have had friends come and go. I mean, have seen other people I'm friends with that aren't a part of our association that have schools. That it's just like enough to know that it's not like ever. It seems like it's never, oh, hey, Clay, I wish the best for you, man, and whatever you do, which is probably the way it should be, or just like the support being there for you on the front end so you don't have to swap and go, find something that meets your needs better.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's stubborn. It's easy to stubbornly not meet the needs of your students because of yourself. You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
I've struggled with it too. And just because my coach or some other gym's not doing something doesn't mean that I can't evolve to meet needs.
Absolutely. And that's something that, like, you know, when we talk about loyalty in jiu-jitsu, the expectation is always like, hey, you're the student, you should be loyal to the coach and blah, 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 blah. And it's this kind of outdated old school mentality. But the reality is the opposite. Like, if you're a coach and you're a gym owner, you should be loyal to your students, not the other way around. And like, loyalty is a two-way street. And you know, and in a sense, I think like loyal to the overall jiu-jitsu community. I don't know how you feel about, you know, like certain things, but we never charge mat fees. You know, we don't want people.
I don't either.
Yeah, we don't want people coming in and like your first impression is, hey, you know, we want to share jiu-jitsu, but give me your money. Like, I mean, of course we're businesses. We got to stay in business. You know, we got to be smart and make money. And there's nothing wrong or dirty about a jiu-jitsu owner making a good living. But Jesus Christ, if someone wants to come in and you know, slap a $30 or $40 mat fee down, fuck you.
Yeah, man, people have to like, and I mean, it'll literally like, they'll like leave their money on the counter. I'm like, no, you were cool. Like, you're a good person. Like,
Yeah.
if you came in here and you were a douchebag, maybe I would take you $20 if you tried to give it to me. I bet if you were a douchebag, you wouldn't be trying to give me money though.
Yeah, for real, man. I tell people, you know, we never charge mat fees. We just want you to come train. If someone's in town, you know, for work and they train somewhere else, come train for a week or two for free. You know, but if they want to support the gym, I'll tell them to buy a t-shirt or something like that, you know, but like, there's a difference. And that's the kind of mutual respect that like helps the community go around. The reality is there's very few people that are just out there to take advantage of you.
Yeah, man, that's like a major tenet of what Cora and I do is to just like take care of our people. We've never been financially motivated, but we are financially successful.
Yeah.
So,
And that seems mutually exclusive, but I think that's actually the key to it. You know, if you are all about the money, then you're going to smell about being all about the money.
yeah, that's true, man. That's very true. And like, you know, everybody has different ways of doing business, and each their own. If it works, and you know, right on. I think I've always kind of been about like what works for you, because there's a lot of different approaches to owning an academy, and even like with when it comes down to jiu-jitsu and ranking rather, and how people conduct all of the business of jiu-jitsu, that varies widely as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember talking to Chris Carlino a couple of years ago, and he was telling me about you and Core opening a gym and said you guys were just killing it, especially with the kids program.
Yeah, Cora had yesterday 27 kids do her Zoom class, which was blowing my mind. I have like 7 people do my Zoom class right now for kickboxing, you know.
I'm sorry, I got out for a second there. Wow, that's awesome, man. That's a lot of kids doing Zoom.
Yeah, it is, man. And I've seen like Justin Rader, he's been having some awesome Zoom turnout. I saw him posting on his page and stuff the other day, but it's, you know, it's just been something we've had to adapt, and we've been working like email and text and social to really get the word out to our members about like our digital content.
Yeah. Are you guys doing okay through this situation that we're dealing with?
Man, we are. You know, it wasn't ideal timing because we had just moved into a new location. Literally for 2 weeks, we were in our new gym, twice the size, $400,000 building, you know? And,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we just moved in, had spent all these money on renovations. We renovated for like 6 weeks. But I will say, like the SBA, where we had our mortgage through, they paid our mortgage for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like literally because of the timing, we haven't even paid a mortgage payment. We paid an interest payment for the month we were renovating. So they're like, hey, April never happened. And then, you know, for May, for the next 6 months, we're paying your mortgage, interest, everything.
Wow.
So that, and there's been a couple other things we've been able to secure. I mean, it's not enough to offset, I don't think, we're going to rebound from it. I'm not worried about that. But it's just, there's no way to offset the losses here in my mind either.
Yeah.
What about you, man? How have you been doing with your school? Have you been keeping in contact with students? Like, what have you been doing to kind of modify?
Yeah, man. It's been interesting. We've tried to take the opportunity to focus on some internal stuff, some deep cleaning of the school and fleshing out some, like an instructor coaching program I'm putting together for our new hired coaches. We had just hired 2 more kids class coaches when everything shut down. And so income wise, man, our clients have been incredibly supportive. We have about 150 students, and we've lost 15 to 20%, but the vast majority have been that have been able to, that haven't been laid off or financially affected, have been supporting the gym and like keeping their memberships active to allow us to have a gym open for them when everything clears up. So that's been, tremendously both helpful and touching. And we've been doing like at-home workouts for the kids. We haven't been using Zoom, but we've been like shooting and editing videos for the kids to work out at home, and keeping in touch with everyone. Every few days I'll message all the students and just kind of keep in touch with everyone as best I can to make sure we all like make it through and stick through this. And then for the adults, we have myself and 2 of the other coaches are giving like a free private lesson to everyone who kept their membership active. And then we're doing like a free seminar with another gym in town. I'm teaching or another gym in Tennessee. So I'm teaching a seminar at his gym. He's doing one at my gym for free for our students that supported us through the time.
Nice. Yeah. We've got several kind of events planned. We were going to do a grand opening in June. It may still happen, but we're probably just going to try and have like some free member events, really kind of try and give back to everybody that hung in there, and then plan like a big summer bash grand opening after everything's kind of hopefully passed us by with all this pandemic.
Yeah. Did you guys have a reopen date yet?
Okay, so we had an announcement the other day that said May 4th, but then we had an announcement today that said that last announcement was just a soft open, sort of a maybe. We're going to let you know on May 1 whether or not we're actually going to do that. So Oklahoma today announced that they were going to be good for May 4th. So we've been getting ready for it, though. We started kind of preparing to reach out to all our people about it. We bought like one of those thermometers that you can take people's temp on their forehead. Gonna have parents stay in the cars. There's like phase 1 through 4 restrictions on what you can do as in a gym. Like they've come up with all that.
Oh, really? Is that on the state level or on a federal level that they've announced?
Well, I've heard some talk about like a federal level of it, but then like what I've seen is state level. But what I saw with that, it may be the state just adopting the federal. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm not 100%.
Yeah.
But man, 150 students. That's awesome. How long have you been open?
So April 1st was actually our 18-month anniversary.
Nice.
So we didn't have as many students in class as we'd hoped on that day, but being closed down and everything, but we'll make it through, and we'll be back open in 11 days. So we're gonna try to make up for lost time.
Is that the date that you guys have projected right now, or is that just what you're going with, or what?
That's what we're going with.
Cool. Dude, it is like, what are you thinking about? I haven't really talked to anybody about this, but what are you thinking about all the protests happening? Like they're happening in a lot of places.
Man, I typically don't talk about like political views and things like that. Being a gym owner and having students of all different thoughts and, religions and political views and whatnot. But I kind of broke down about that and made a video.
I saw that. That was a great post.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel pretty strongly about the things that are happening, and I don't want to turn this podcast into Clay Mayfield's stance on COVID, But I support the protests and I support the thought behind them. I think it's time to reopen the economy. I think the economic shutdown is approaching a criminal level by our government, and that it's more dangerous than the virus, and that we need to reopen the economy immediately.
Man,
so
there are just so many people that are like never going to recover from this. Like,
absolutely,
let's be real. Like, economically, there are people that are never going to recover from this, and there's people that are going to be in the streets en masse because of this, like homelessness, poverty, all of the issues that we were experiencing as a country are about to amplify is my fear. But it's like, you know, possibly, I mean, it's like, is it unavoidable? Would something similar to the Spanish flu be worse? I don't know. Like, that's the thing. It's like there is no real way to know, you know, like which is the worst ripple is going to be. So I'm looking forward to being back in business though, because like, man, I've been laid off both my jobs.
Wow.
Like, because all my college classes, 5 college classes I teach online now. So
wow.
I joke around with people and tell them I'm twice unessential.
Yeah. Bottom line, we'll all be happy when we're back after this, back open and most of all back on the mats.
Exactly, man. And like how I've been with everybody I've chatted with about it, because it ultimately comes up in every conversation I have with every human being, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's like, man, it's been a real positive time for me. I've got tons of shit done. We're getting super settled into the gym. I've been exercising, hanging out with my dog, my wife. It's great. So
yeah, there have definitely been some silver linings, you know, but one of the things about jiu-jitsu is that it's a psychological. Can you say me, Brian?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
You know, jiu-jitsu and being on the mats is like a psychological and mental health outlet for so many of the people that train. It's, you know, it's how they cope with the issues they've got going on. It's how they vent. It's how they, you know, their therapy from anxiety and depression, you know, in many cases. And so like jiu-jitsu is essential to a lot of people's mental health. And then when you take those people, you take them away from their jobs, you isolate them, they're losing their money and their savings and their businesses in some cases, and they don't have their outlet, you know, like that's a cocktail for disaster.
It is, man. And like, I have students like that. I'm sure you probably do too, that it's like, this has only amplified their struggle in life.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Even if it's not economically, just their mental health. And like, mentally healthy people are going to struggle with mental health.
Absolutely, dude. I have, you know, close friends and family members that struggle more than I do, but I don't have like quote, have clinical depression, but I have had some severe depressive moments and, you know, like depressive days during the shutdown. It's like, you know, like you understand better than, you know, than most other people, just how much you pour into owning your own business, you know, and like your endeavors. And when you see all of that, like out of your control being shut down, it's crushing. And on top of that, man, I was 5 days away from PANS, you know, which is the second biggest tournament in the world.
Yeah.
We were training like fucking madmen for 6 months for that tournament. And then like, I'm about to fly out and got news that it was canceled. And I'm not alone, you know, I'm not having like a pity party over here, but it's just like all of the preparation and then like the mental letdown, and then your business goes under. And then it's like, dude, and we're fortunate, you know, being like a largely subscription-based service where people are paying a monthly membership. So many of our members have been amazing and kept us afloat. But like, look at a restaurant or a coffee shop or someone like that requires so many people walking through the door every day. It's like, man, my heart breaks for those people.
Yeah, that's restaurant industry. It's going to be especially hard, because even the ones that are open, there's no way that they can generate the revenues off just carry out, you know?
Oh, no way. We're pretty good friends with a coffee shop down the street, and it's like a block away from our gym. So we go down there every day and do like emails and paperwork and kind of get out of the gym. And man, they've been hit so hard, been shut down for like 8 weeks, and it's just like a small family-owned place too. So it's just really sad when all of the memes and the statistics and the graphs have like a face to it, you know, when you know people that are being affected.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, man, something I was going to ask you, like, what are some of the things you like, I know you named your academy kind of after like one of your specialty moves, if I'm not mistaken. Like, don't you have like some insane stat on triangle victories in tournaments?
Man, last time I checked, I'd done about 25 or 30% of my wins in tournaments were by triangles. So that's kind of been a thing, I guess, with my lanky ass legs that I have sucked at the least. But that's one of the reasons I named the school Triangle Academy. Kind of, I gravitate toward triangles, but I always wanted the gym to like be bigger than just me. I don't want to name it like Clay Mayfield's House of Flying Daggers or whatever. So like I didn't want to name it just after myself or about a move I was good at. So the idea of the triangle, I mean, you know how fundamental the triangle shape is to like martial arts and jiu-jitsu. The triangle also represents the three parts of our like human being that we want to cultivate through martial arts. So for us, so like at this gym, like we represent like the mind, the body, and the spirit. And we're not into like we don't do like mystic rituals or sacrifice goats or anything, but just in general, like through training and wanting to become not just like Billy Badass, but we want to become calmer and more patient and like better in our personal lives and our business lives and in every aspect of being, not just our triangle chokes. So calling it Triangle Academy is kind of a nod to that aspect of cultivating ourselves through martial arts.
No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
What about your gym? Is it Forca or Força?
It's Força.
Força?
So Força is a Portuguese word for strength or power, right? So like if you see some of our logos have the Japanese kanji on it, that's the kanji for strength. So we'll put that on like some of our gear and stuff. But Força Martial Arts, just kind of like with that being the language of most of Brazil due to European colonization. But that's kind of like a good friend of mine who actually helped me come up with my podcast name. He suggested it, and I was like, man, I really like that. I'm going to name my gym that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's we opened up in 2012. So
okay. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I was at the time like probably midway through my blue belt, I believe. Right.
Okay.
Like I said, there was like I think like half a dozen black belts in the state, and like what had happened is it'd been a couple of years, but my instructor had moved to Northwest Arkansas, Caleb, with Inferno, so I kind of had to throw up shop here in Russellville where I was going to college just to kind of keep plugged in and training.
Gotcha. So I would have met you probably a couple of years after that. I remember doing that AGF in Memphis and we had a couple of matches, and I remember Cora was coaching and that's, I guess, where we first connected, and you were a purple belt at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
then just kind of connected through social media and seeing each other around at tournaments through your brown belt and getting your black belt, 2 years ago?
It has been, yes, it has been 2 years. Just hit 2 years just the other day, last month.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. It's weird that it's been 2 years. Just like I was like, wow, that's time flies. But man, it's weird. Like once I got promoted, I was like, oh, okay, well, all right, all that's out of the way.
Yeah.
Like Alan Shade, this guy, he owns a gym out in Las Vegas, but he did have a gym in South Haven. He moved. He was saying the same thing. He's like, man, something like changed mentally when I got my black belt, like about the whole milestone motivation, like,
yeah,
I've got this allotted amount of time to try and achieve these goals inside of this belt level before I receive, like what you were saying earlier. You have like goals for your brown belt. It's like, yeah, there's degrees to black belt and stuff, but it's like all that kind of goes out the window. I was very kind of that same mindset when I was coming up, and it does.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. That makes sense. It's like your belt color's never really going to change after that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially for a lot of people, I guess you might earn a coral belt someday, but yeah,
That's more like a participation, like a lifetime achievement award, I guess.
for sure. Well, man, what are some goals you have for the future, for your gym and just for competition? I know you mentioned some things earlier, but what can we be on the lookout for once things get back in full swing?
Well, man, couple big things for me personally. I've always wanted to win worlds, win pans and worlds at brown belt. So climbing up that direction. So I've competed like avidly for the last 2 years. I still have yet to medal at pans or worlds. So winning those two is my main goal in life, winning worlds at brown belt and then carrying on to black belt after that. I want to be the #1 ranked brown belt, in the US and in the world. Right now I'm ranked number 7. So I've got a few more spots to go. And then carrying on into black belt, and seeing how far I can carry things at black belt. For the gym, we're a year and a half open right now. And, there's a couple like numbers, of course, that I want to hit, but the main goal is to outgrow the location we're in now. And I've got some plans for our second location. I don't have like a grand, master plan for wanting to have, 13 affiliate schools or anything like that. We just want the gym to continue to grow and the quality of what we do here until we have like a Pedigo Submission Fighting Tennessee, basically. We've got Pedigo headquarters is in Southern Illinois, and we've got a couple of satellite schools around there and one in Indiana, I think. And then this is the only Pedigo school in Tennessee. So just continuing to cultivate the gym here until it has the same feel and the same intensity and the same level of killers that we have in headquarters would be the main goal I've got for the gym.
Do you guys do anything other than jiu-jitsu training?
We don't have kickboxing classes or so on, but we incorporate judo and wrestling very heavily into the jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of takedowns and grappling and no-gi in the curriculum that we cycle through. And we always start from the feet during, sparring and competition rounds. So we focus pretty heavily on the judo and wrestling incorporated into the jiu-jitsu.
Nice. What is your rank in judo? Are you still pursuing rank in judo?
I'm not. I'm on paper, I'm a black belt in judo, but it was a class that was just taught at the jiu-jitsu school I was at. So I'm not like officially ranked through the judo federation or anything like that. I've never done a judo only tournament because I always learned judo through like the jiu-jitsu rule set. I mean, I feel like I know the judo rules, but it was always like, like you get to throw and then continue on into the jiu-jitsu aspect. And do you know who Travis Stevens is?
Yeah, I do.
So Travis came here. I know Travis like through the Fuji organization and being sponsored through Fuji and whatnot. And so we brought him in a couple of months ago, and he did like a weekend judo camp. And we've already scheduled him again for this year, and we're going to try to make that like an annual thing. Nice. But dude, Travis is just probably top 10 that I've ever trained with. But having him come in and teach judo, and like I felt like I was a white belt, like he would show me basic grip things, from an Olympic level judo player that like I'd never seen before. And it was like, I don't like telling people that like I quote have a black belt in judo because there's just kind of levels to it. Like I've never trained it like on that kind of level. It would almost be like saying, you did some grappling at your Kung Fu school and then you walk into a jiu-jitsu academy, I'd say it's more accurate to say that I'm good at like 10 or 12 judo throws and I have a little judo experience.
Man, you have, I've seen you adapt it really well into your jiu-jitsu. I remember you were in a super fight one time and like an Uchimata to mounted triangle. It was insane.
Sounds like me. I get lucky sometimes.
But, that is what drew me to judo. Was like it was like an add-on, a patch for my game to give me confidence to starting from standing and having better follow-ups from the feet and controlling pins better. So it served its purpose for what I've tried to integrate it for very well.
Absolutely. It's like pulling guard is kind of a part of jiu-jitsu and you should know how to do that. Of course, I pull guard occasionally, but pulling guard should always be an option and never like a necessity. You should know how to wrestle and you should know how to fight off your feet.
Yeah, agreed.
It sounds like you have some judo experience as well then?
Yeah, I have just my Shodan. When did I got my Shodan when I was still a brown belt in Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
And I've competed just at one tournament. I did the Dallas it's like the Dallas Class. They have it every year. It's a really big tournament. I think it's called the Winter Classic or something, but I can't. It's a huge tournament. But I got a few matches in there, and it was a good experience. It just never was. It's never anything I'm trying to pursue on the same level that I'm pursuing jiu-jitsu.
So, did you get down like the Kevin Williams foot sweep?
Dude, oh man, Kev's got some sick foot sweeps. I want to have him on the podcast just to talk with him about his game.
Yeah, for real, man. He's an interesting cat.
He really is. And who's the guy that runs Fight to Win? Seth Dan. Yeah. Isn't he who inspired Kevin to adopt that foot sweep?
I haven't heard that story, but I believe it. Seth is the one that knocked that dude out at Pans with the foot sweep.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I do, man. Foot sweeps require such a high level of timing, but I love training foot sweeps. And I've landed a few live. And I've actually, man, so I got foot swept in a match one time in Springfield, curried and did a break fall. I went so high in the air, I had time to fully break fall. It was
nice.
Yeah.
Heath once told me that either they're on your highlight reel or you're on their highlight reel.
Yeah. I'll tell you, man, my preferred throw that I landed over 20 times easily in competition was Ukiwaza, the sacrifice throw. That's one of my favorites. I would do it to knee slide passes, arm bars. I would land in all sorts of top follow-ups for that.
Nice. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is some of the throws in judo and in wrestling, but especially with judo, they translate better to jiu-jitsu than other throws, because some of them are, when you get that ippon, it doesn't matter if they roll over and get on top of you. In judo, you win, but in jiu-jitsu, you kind of put yourself in a bad spot.
I've had people hit tons of wazaris on me, but then I was bow and arrow choking them right after that happened.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? That is one, I guess people are going for an Eri Seyanagi or something. But there's a guy that used to be at Barada, which is where Bryce Mitchell's out of. He's here in Arkansas in the UFC. But they had this really good judo player move in from the Ukraine or something. He'd trained judo for years, and he would always try and come in on me with an Eri technique, and it would end up in a bow and arrow choke. That's happened a lot when I played with judo guys. Yeah,
all the Makakomi throws too.
Yeah. Man, I have one of my guys, John. He has insane judo and some insane Makakomis. He's been competing a lot for the last couple of years. Yeah,
I'd love to meet him, man. I'll have to come up to the gym sometime.
Yeah, man, we should. We definitely should get together. Maybe we can have you in for a seminar or something. Or if you're ever passing through, man, stop in and say hello. You'd always be welcome, man.
Absolutely. And next time we have Travis down, man, I'll have to let you know if you want to bring some guys down.
Likewise, keep me in the loop on events, and if I head that way, I usually we've gone to Nashville once a year the last 2 or 3 years. So.
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah.
If I'm in the neighborhood, I'll hit you up, man.
Yeah, Michelle and I would love to host you guys, hang out, kind of get some training in, maybe show you around the town a little bit.
Heck yeah, man. Well, dude, I guess let's go ahead and wrap it up, man. We've been chatting for about an hour. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk, Clay.
Well, Brian, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the conversation and catching up after so long. I know we've seen each other around, every so often, but we haven't had a chance to sit down and really catch up on what's going on. Yeah, man, it was a pleasure, and let's stay in touch, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Let's do it. Thank you, Brian. All right, man. See ya.